What is urbanization? Urbanization is the managed growth and development in response to people. There are several elements associated with urbanization. The downtown, sprawl, and sprawl is the outlying residential developments that rely on cars. Transportation, low-impact development, and this is associated with best management practice that deals with stormwater during normal rain events. And then you have urban design and revitalization. Now, revitalization consists of downtowns, neighborhoods, corridors, small area plans, but we're going to focus on revitalization. We're going to look at alternative models for neighborhood revitalization. Now, downtowns have reinvented themselves over the years. They're the places to live, eat, work, and shop. They're the attraction destination everyone would want to be live in or near downtown. And because of the attractiveness, those adjacent communities become the eye or the target for revitalization. Now, how many of you all probably remember musical chairs? You remember the excitement of the chairs being circled up, the music playing, and everybody really got into it, and no one plays the game assuming they're going to lose. But eventually, that excitement mellows with disappointment as each chair is removed. Well, unfortunately and unintentionally, planning revitalization for neighborhoods are like musical chairs. When you announce the revitalization of a community, there are two camps. One is excited. They're excited, particularly cities, neighbors themselves, the residents themselves, developers, because they get to see the removal of this blighted, boarded up houses, vacant lots filled with trash, and the promise of new homes, new mixed income development. So typically, the development is done through HUD, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and a number of CDBG funds, which is Community Development Block Grant Funds, Home Investment Program funds, are utilized to revitalize these areas. And HUD has teamed up with, say, Department of Transportation to create TIGER. And TIGER stands for Transportation Investment Grant for Economic Recovery. And what they've done is marry transportation with housing. And this is an effective solution to deal with transportation, particularly the sprawl we just talked about. And there's been some amazing projects in the downtown as a result of TIGER funds. But now, let's reimagine a different approach. What if HUD teamed up with the Department of Labor to create LION, Labor Investment Opportunities for Neighborhoods? The goal is to promote internal revitalization by having the people themselves rebuild their communities, taking job construction training and marrying revitalization to housing. Now they become principal parts of their communities. Now, many of these communities have double-digit unemployment. Now, let's take a moment here to reflect. Many of the deterioration of neighborhoods is the fact that there's under and unemployment that creates the deterioration of those communities. So when we see the drugs, the crime, the breakdown of family values, chemical dependency, those are just the symptoms. It's a mere fact they're not working. In fact, Dr. William Wilson, with the Harvard professor, in his book, When Work Disappears, he utilizes Chicago as his case study to demonstrate the traumatic unemployment and its impact on deteriorating neighborhoods. That's precisely what's going on in Chicago. But LION has two phases. The first phase is creating a training process for the residents to be involved and ready to rebuild their communities. And I mean ready to rebuild. And the success of the program hinges on community assets. And what are those assets? They are faith-based and community-based organizations, technical colleges, local governments, former and retired craftsmen, the plumber, the brick mason, the electrician, etc. Now, the building blocks of that process is going to be the faith-based community. Why? Because these are people who are engaged in the community, who built that trust, who built those types of relationships that can get residents involved, signed up, and recruited, and mentor them to stay in the program. Another essential part of that is the former plumbers, brick masons, because many of these people live in those communities or similar communities. And there are great assets that help in mentoring those along because they can identify with the trainees and the trainees with them. Now that we got groups working, we got them processing and working, they're ready to go. Now we got to get them working. So how do we do that? This is where cities, the federal, state governments can use tax incentives like building permit reductions, reduction in business license, to encourage them, if they hire these line graduates, to rebuild those communities, to have them actively involved in the process. And this will encourage them in community development organizations, or what they call CHODOs, Community Housing Development Organization, to build affordable units for teachers, the waiter, who you enjoy meeting at your favorite restaurants and coffee shops. Now also, the program is designed also to get absentee landlords, property owners, to not raise rents once the units are rebuilt. It also gets them involved to, if they hire these folks to rehab these units for sale or for rent, and to hold rents at a reasonable level. And cities and towns, just like they do for downtowns, can provide tax incentives, rebates, and grants. And this is to encourage them to participate in the process. Incentives to also get them to use rent-to-own programs. Give folks an opportunity to rent while they build their savings, while they complete home buyer education, repair their credits. But also local governments can play an instrumental role in holding taxes at pre-revitalization levels, because this allows the seniors, long-term residents to stay in their homes and not be disrupted or moved because of higher taxes. And this process and program not only just fits within housing, but it also addresses commercial revitalization in repairing old buildings, building new ones. Because a neighborhood is just not about people and houses. It's about the services that rendered to the community, and they support those services. So you have a holistic approach. So what are the benefits? The benefit is it builds pride, community pride, because the residents built and rebuilt their communities. Now, many of us built things with our hands, and we don't care how much is not the better than the next guy, but it's ours. And when you have that instilled, you'll do everything to protect it. It means something to you. Then also, you have employment skills and their employment. So they can take those skills portable elsewhere once the project is over. Then it provides an opportunity to sustain affordable housing. And there's opportunities for a variety of housing for mixed income. But the cities win also because they increase the tax base by having new homes, revitalized housing, new customers from water and sewer, and now you breathe new life in dying and dead commercial corridors. But more importantly, you slow or there's no gentrification. Ladies and gentlemen, when the music stops this time, there won't be as many missing people and chairs. Thank you.